Rob Reiner was wrong. And I don't say this to attack him or impugn him, because everything that's happened with Rob Reiner and his son is horrifying, and there's nothing funny or good about it. And I repudiated President Trump's attack on Reiner after his death. I think it was wrong. Excuse me. I'm going to play James Woods, who, as you know, is a very conservative actor. And he was on Fox News, and he talked about Rob Reiner. He also said he's a huge Trump fan, but he was very PO'd at Trump for what he said and what he did. Here's James Woods in his own words about Rob Reiner, who he said gave him the break of his lifetime, saved his career, and believed in him, and was a very, very, very good friend of his. Here's James Woods.
When my friend Carol called me and said, listen, I want you to hear about this before it's on the news. Rob and Michelle were murdered. And I literally said, Rob and Michelle who? She goes, Reiner. And I said, I literally, when you can't breathe? And I'm telling you, I just felt the floor. I just felt my heart drop.
So Rob Reiner was a wonderful man as a person. He despised my politics, your politics, etc., most of us, and he hated Trump with a passion, but that's not relevant. Rob Reiner loved his son so much, but he handled his son horribly wrong, and it cost him his life. I do believe, and the prosecutors and authorities say that's the case. His son was arrested, walking in a weird manner. Apparently his hotel room, one of the reports I read, said there was blood everywhere in the shower. It looks like, according to some of the reports I read, that he waited until his parents were sleeping. It was hours after he was at that Conan O'Brien party. Apparently he got into a big dust-up with Bill Hader, because Bill Hader was mad, saying, I'm talking to somebody, Bill Hader, the Saturday Night Live comedian, who is absolutely incredibly... There's a series on HBO called Barry. If you have HBO, you must watch it. It is freaking awesome. Hader is incredible. Really, just a wild, cool dude. But here's where Rob Reiner was wrong. Terribly wrong. He said the program worked for some people, talking about his son, who by age 15 had been in 18 rehab facilities, and by the last count I saw, he had gone through 22 times rehab, and still... apparently meth was his big thing, and it appears he very well may have been on meth at the time. He had trashed his father's and mother's guest house in their backyard multiple times, talked about it on podcasts. But Rob was terribly wrong about how to treat an addict and what to do with an addict as a father. He said the program works for some people, but it can't work for everybody, Rob Reiner said. When Nick would tell us, his son, it wasn't working for him, we wouldn't listen. We were desperate, and because the people had diplomas on their wall, we listened to them, and when we should have been listening to our son. So we listened to the people with diplomas on the wall when we should have been listening to our son. That is wrong. You are not talking to your son at this point. You are talking to meth. You are talking to an addict. And Nick is not soulless. Nobody is ever too far gone from God's grasp. But he is at the time you're talking to this guy, is a full-fledged addict. He is a soulless drug in search of his next hit. He will do everything. And I had a great call. This week I'm filling in Omaha all week long from 2 to 6 p.m. You can follow me live. It's all on my social media feed. You can see where I'm filling in. Just Google it and listen live. And this is what I led off with today. And I said, this is so wrong. My mom worked at alcohol rehabilitation centers. She was the child of addicts. And she said that movie Less Than Zero with Robert Downey Jr. in the 80s or 90s, whenever that was. She said that movie is exactly it. Many addicts, most of them have to hit less than zero, have to hit rock bottom. They have to be in jail. They have to be homeless to the point where they're almost dead. Overdose to the point where they're almost dead. A man called in because I said this. The question I asked, I don't know if I have it in front of me, but what do you know about the depths of addiction? What do you know? What have you heard about the depths of addiction, what people are willing to do? And this man called in this afternoon. It was the most beautiful call I've taken in some time. And he said, Chris, I had a son who was 15 and an addict. And Chris, he's an adult now. He's 45 years old, and I don't know where he lives. And Chris, I had to learn to have boundaries. I had to learn that it was for my protection and my safety. Otherwise, he would take me down with him. And that's exactly what Nick Reiner did to his father. He took him down with him. Because his father, it appears, didn't do what he should have done, which is what the man that called in today in Omaha told me today. And he cut his son off. His adult son who's 45, has no idea where dad lives now. He has not heard from him, but he prays for him all the time. Every time his son's mind comes to his mind. But I am only slightly older than his son. And it pains me to think about that. And, I have a wonderful relationship with my parents. I go twice a year at least to go see them. They come see me. I know that every moment and every month and every day and every hour and every conversation could be the last. They're 80 years old now. And I can't imagine a man who is slightly younger than my parents not knowing where his son is. And I think of my son who's about to graduate this coming week here at one of our public universities in Texas, which I will reveal after he's gone. I couldn't imagine being estranged from him, having to cut him off, but you have to do that when it's that bad. And if I were Rob Reiner, what I would have done is listen to these experts, and what I would have done if I was Rob Reiner, and by the way, get the book Boundaries. If you've ever gone through this, if you're going through this, get the book Boundaries. This man that called in today from Omaha was exactly right. It is a godly book written about having godly boundaries, because they will take you down with them. And he said that book taught him everything. He cited a verse from Galatians. I can't remember the exact verse, but I remember the gist of it. But it was about somebody needing to provide for themselves, and if somebody is not doing what they need to do, you cut them off. And that's what he needed to do, and that's godly. It's just horrifying. But that's it. Rob Reiner did not trust the experts and trusted his son, who will lie and steal and cheat to do everything he can to keep getting high. 18 times rehab by the time he turned 22. I think that's the extent of what I want to share with him. It's heavy. And by all means, comment in the comment sections about what you know about the depths of addiction. Because this is very, very true. And my heart aches for any person who's going through this right now. If you were here with me and you're going through this right now, I would be glad to hug you, to cry with you, to pray with you. But it's the right thing to do. And the other thing that came up in that conversation with that gentleman is the feelings of guilt, of shame. And he knows this because he's a godly man, and he's gone through this. In the earlier stages, he was more vulnerable. The guilt and shame that comes from this is from Satan. It's not from God. The guilt and shame that you would feel in this would be, God doesn't guilt you, God doesn't shame you. We get convicted of our sin, but this is not sinful to cut your son off. The other thing is the prodigal son we talked about. He said, I don't have the prodigal son is blank and blank. And so they were all taking back their son, the Reiners, and he wasn't the prodigal son, because the prodigal son ended up spending all of his money on prostitutes and drunkenness, I'm sure, and all sorts of vile things, or whatever you call it. I don't mean to be a goody two-shoes, because I'm not. But you know what I'm saying. And the prodigal son ended up working in a pig farm, eating the pods of food that the pigs eat, and living among the pigs in dirt and feces. And he says, what am I doing? I have a father who takes care of me, who loves me, that I can go home to. The prodigal son didn't come home as an addict and continue to be addictive and trash the facility and go in and out of facility, rehab, and trash the place that dad, mom make for you and stay high. The prodigal son came back and said, Dad, please forgive me. I was wrong. And the prodigal son came back with a contrite heart, not knowing if his dad would take him back. But Dad saw that his heart had changed and took him back. All right. Australian Prime Minister. I'm going to play some audio from Australia, and then we're going to get into Brown University with the terror attack over there. The Australian Prime Minister, who is hyper-woke, leftist, and refuses to call out radical Islam, said he spoke of a total of 5,022 words in public about the Bondi. It's Bondi, not Bondi, even though it looks like Bondi. Bondi Beach in Sydney, Australia. The Prime Minister spoke a total of 5,022 words in public about the Bondi massacre and did not once say the words Muslim, Islam, or Islam extremism, or Islamic extremism. He did, however, twice raise the threat of right-wing extremism. I put that for you yesterday, I believe. Right-wing extremism. Just like Joe Biden, lying. Joe Biden had the FBI gin up stuff that, and he lied, saying that it was the greatest threat to this country is white supremacy. That's a big, fat lie. You know it, and I know it. In fact, I have kind of a list. It's on my phone from a little earlier. Just a couple examples. Then I'm going to get in some radical Islamist examples of Christmas markets in Europe being shut down because they appease the Islamists instead of standing firm. The only way to fight an Islamist, a terrorist, a radical Islamic terrorist, or Islamist for short, is to at the end of a barrel of a frickin' gun. That's the only thing that works. Incarceration's fine, but if it's an attack, there's only one thing, and that's hard power. Let me share with you a couple things. In November, radical Islamists that Joe Biden brought into this country killed one guardsman, and the other is, thank God, still alive. December 2nd, Paris, New Year's Eve. Did you know that they canceled New Year's Eve in Paris, France, New Year's Eve celebrations, because of, as the words are, quote, migrant violence? The words really are that Paris canceled the New Year's Eve ceremony because of radical Islamists that they... Sorry, I gotta calm down. My wife gets mad at me if I'm loud. She can hear me in the other room. They canceled New Year's Eve because of radical Islamists in Paris. December 2nd, they made that announcement. In Germany, December 12th, they canceled the Christmas market. More details in a second. December 14th, Australia. Brussels, the same thing. They canceled the Christmas market in Brussels because of radical Islamists. Instead, they should be having their Christmas markets, boldly and proudly celebrating them, and having people there, I should say police officers there, and guardsmen, whatever that version of it is there, the gendarmes in Paris, and they should do it, and they should have it, and they should have hard power ready to take down any terrorists, because what they're doing is they're ceding ground to the radical Islamist terrorists, and that's exactly what they want. What we must do is do what Trump's doing, is not import radical Islamic people and get them the hell out of this country. And I pray to God, as Tom Homan said that Ilhan Omar, they're looking for immigration fraud, and I pray to God they can find it. I believe it's there. I believe she married her brother, as we all have seen. And I'd love to see that happen, along with a lot of the Somali folks who are stealing or committing immigration fraud at all. There's another case coming out of the Northeast Coast. I can't remember if it's Maine. Some huge Somali fraud as well there. Let's play some audio from Australia, the latest. This is the daughter of one of the Jewish heroes. This guy and his wife saw the Islamic terrorists, radical Islamic terrorists, a migrant who lived off the fat of the land like the brothers Tsarnaev. Remember them? They blew up the Boston bomb. One of them was killed. The other one's in jail. Brothers Tsarnaev, those sons of bleeps. They came into this country, they fed off the fat of our land, they got welfare, and what did they use it to do? To kill us. Same thing that happened with this Islamist man and his son, one of whom was killed. He was born and raised there, but he pledged all of his allegiance to radical Islam, and that's who they brought into that country of Australia. And what in God's name are we doing? By the way, Trump banning more countries for travel coming into this country, but let me tell you something. He is still missing. I keep looking. He added up to 20 countries or something. I don't know. The total amount's 20. I keep looking for the Islamic Republic of Mauritania. He hasn't frickin' put that country on the list. Why does it so concern me? Because, and I'm proud to tell this story from time to time when I'm on in Chicago. I'm proud to tell everybody across the country and on networks I fill in wherever it comes up naturally. A Jew was walking down the street, going on the Sabbath to go to worship his God, my God, in Chicago, in his streets, in his neighborhood, with his yarmulke, his kippah on, to worship God, the God. And he was shot and killed by a terrorist from the Islamic Republic of Mauritania. That is a terrorist haven. It is Mauritania's in Africa. It's called the Islamic Republic of Mauritania in full. A terrorist that Joe Biden waved in as an illegal, that Mayor Brandon Johnson and J.B. Pritzker waved in so he could frickin' murder one of our God-fearing, God-loving Jews. That's radical Islam. And they are from he was from Mauritania. They should be kicked out of this damn country if they're not here legally. Excuse me. That I don't know why he hasn't put them on the list, man. It's crazy. Let me play for you the daughter of whose parents, they literally were the first people killed, and nobody knew about them until like today, because right when the terrorists came out with their guns, at least one of them, I think the dad, this man who was like 60, he and his wife, he grabbed the terrorist, tried to get the gun out of his hand. The terrorist yanked it back or something and shot and killed him and his wife. This is their daughter, and listen to what they say. There's going to be 2 pieces of audio I'm going to play for you. This is the first one, where people that are victims, these are Jews in Australia, and they're telling the truth. Their government has failed them. Their government has ignored them. Blood is on the hand of the leftist people that run Australia that will lock your bleep up if you don't get the COVID shot and literally lock you in your home. They will have people tell on you, and you'll be jailed for leaving your house if you don't get the COVID shot. But with Islamists, they run free. In fact, I saw today, I retweeted a preacher, a radical Islamist preacher, who was this guy's imam, was supposed to be, it came on the radar like 16 years ago or something, and it was all raised, and he was flagged, and they should have thrown him out. He didn't. Instead, he was allowed to stay there and radicalize this family. Everything's right in their faces, and the leftists bow to them. They bow to them, they kiss their butts, and they allow radical Islam to take over because it like a cancer, because it is a cancer. All right, let's play some audio. Here's a daughter who lost her parents in this.
He'd fled persecution in the former Soviet Union 50 years earlier, but now feared his adopted homeland was no longer safe. Anti-Semitic incidents have increased since the October 7th attacks and war in Gaza. Synagogues firebombed and vandalized. Who has failed you and your family and your father?
The Australian government is to blame. They've had the warning signs for so long. The Jewish community has been begging and begging and begging for action. They have failed us, they have betrayed us, and they have so much innocent blood on their hands.
That's exactly right. Here are another pair of middle-aged folks or younger folks who are married, and they also lost. They're survivors of the attack. Listen to what they said on CBS News.
I think Jews in many communities around the world understand exactly what you mean with that question, but for people outside the community, why does that kind of concern come to mind?
It's just what our government has done in this country. This happened, this happened.
He's got blood on his hands.
On October.
And he knows it.
The acts of terrorism have been rewarded by the Australian weak government.
That's exactly right. Let's go to Brown University. There are so many reports of a guy who is or was a student over there, or is some kind of a capacity at Brown University, who supports the terrorist Hamas. At least he says, free Palestine, all that propaganda that appears. He's totally a Hamas supporter. He won't say that probably, but he is. And people are saying, where is he? Why do they wipe his presence off of the website for Brown University and such? And they have some stuff he's written, and it's all in that realm. There are reports from, and I reported this from one of the news outlets that out of the Providence, Rhode Island area, that said he is that somebody, not he, but somebody, the man who did the shooting there in Providence, Rhode Island, killing 2 and injuring a whole bunch of others, yelled Allahu Akbar. In fact, here is a woman with, her name is Caroline Wren. She's reporting on this, and she is on the network called Real America's Voice. Here we go.
The police did a press conference yesterday, and they would not confirm what the shooter yelled out before he started shooting. So you had a room of 60 students, 11 which have been shot, 2 are now dead, but that means that there are, at least, they said somewhere around 60, 40 students who were in there who could confirm what this man shot. At least 5 students that I have seen have confirmed on the record in media interviews saying that he yelled Allahu Akbar. Well, I think that that's pretty relative information. I think that would matter, as there's a massive search for the shooter. Did he yell Allahu Akbar? Because then we should be looking for a, free Palestine terrorist. And Reddit yesterday, by the way, had to shut down the Brown University board because Free Palestine students were celebrating Ella Cook's death.
And that's the vice president for the Republican club that was murdered They were celebrating her death. Here's going back to Australia. This is on my Twitter feed. You can follow me at Chris Crock Show. That's at Chris Crock Show, ChrisKrock. The Islamic extremist cleric who radicalized Bondi gunman Naveed Ahram openly dared the Australian government in 2014 to revoke his citizenship. They never did. 16 people were murdered as a result. And it's got the guy and all the articles about this and him daring them to revoke his passport because he's a radical Islamist, and they never did because they're guilty white liberals. That's who they are. That's what they do. Now, Brown University, these people are insanely incompetent. I think I have some more audio, but these people are insanely incompetent. The police chief is such a fool. This police chief appears to be a total DEI hire. He doesn't even know where their cameras are. Listen to these press conferences. They don't know who this person is. They had a suspect, a person of interest. They released him. He was the wrong guy. It's 4 days now, apparently. Saturday into Sunday, Sunday into Monday, Monday into Tuesday. We're on the fourth. We're in the middle of, I guess, the fourth day or entering the fourth day. This is freaking insane. And I know it takes time. These people are clueless. They have not called in the FBI, which they could do. They're refusing to, and I think it's because it's Trump's FBI, DOJ, and they hate him. They're fools. The FBI is doing their own stuff on the ground because they're not invited to join in with it, so they're just doing what they can to help, obviously. But here's the police chief. He's asked, where are the cameras? And by the way, one of the administrators says, they say, why are there no cameras in there? Well, there are cameras in the building. There are? Yes, they were in the old part of the building where there's either no or few cameras. He doesn't even know. The new part of the building has cameras. So the old part where people are studying and going to school has no cameras, even though they're studying and going to school there. And the new part does, but that wasn't, and then here's the chief. He doesn't even know whether the cameras are inside, outside, or anything.
So the video that we showed came from inside the building, and that's all we had at the moment. That's all we have at this moment. Correct.
Inside the building, though?
I'm sorry?
It's from the outside of the building.
From the outside, so do you have video from inside the engineering building?
Both inside and outside. I'm sorry, just outside. That's all we have, not inside. I'm sorry, just outside.
Are they going to be released anytime soon, the ones from inside the building?
That was released already. That was the outside of the building. We released that.
Yeah, let me just jump here and clarify.
Let me clarify, because our police chief has his head up as you-know-what.
Okay, so there is, for those of you who've been with us before, and I understand not all of you have been, there is video inside the building. There are cameras inside the building. What we have released to you are videos.
So the video that we...
Okay. Anyway, and this police chief has never been in professional policing before, apparently. Never worked for a city or, you know what I mean? And he was speaking full Spanish yesterday in a press conference. Nobody there is speaking Spanish. There's nothing about Spanish-speaking people involved in any of this. It's DEI at its best. And you're spending 70, 80, 90 grand or so a year, and your kid is a sitting duck. That's why, thank God, in Texas, students are allowed to carry. If they're old enough to carry, concealed carry, they can carry. And God bless Texas for that. I remember at my son's university, where he's graduating from next week, I remember going to the orientation at the beginning, and there were these crazy parents that were most likely from out of state, and they're like, what is it? So a student can carry a gun? There's like 500 or 1,000 parents in this big room for orientation. And this is I don't think this is even his first year. Maybe it was. I don't know. I think it was, because we were in this thing with my son, my daughter, my wife, and my son. And we're just watching this. Or maybe he was out with the other students and just my wife and I don't know. But they can carry guns into the school, into the classroom. You're damn right they can. You're damn right they can. This is one of the reasons. This is absolutely one of the reasons. And at some of our schools locally, for example, University of Texas at Dallas, there's a lot of Islamists there, and I'm talking real Islamists, not talking white, guilty white liberals and pro-Palestinian terrorist types. I'm talking about the full-on radical Islamists that go to that school. Remember, Ayman al-Zawahiri, the number 2 at Al-Qaeda, who took a dirt nap not too long ago. He's a doctor. You can be a terrorist and be a brilliant person. And they're harassing Jews. I never will forget, and I'll have them on again if I see it in the news again, this precious Jewish young lady and a precious Jewish young man The Jewish young man had never spoken out. It was not open about his Judaism. Was just, he's a Jew and he wasn't ashamed or anything, but he went to school. And these sick Islamist bastards figured out he was a Jew, and they harassed him at University of Texas at Dallas. They were following him and this woman, back to her apartment. And the Richardson Police Department, because it's not University of Texas at Dallas, it's University of Texas at Richardson. That's the big secret. And they were following her back to her home, and the Richardson police were escorting her. Those 6 sons of bleeps. In my community, in your community, radical Islamists, they were sending vile Jew hatred and threats via text to her and to him. She was a vocal Jew, and I'm proud of her. And I told her, we're with you. And I told her, I'm always here for you. If you need me, you need my listeners, we're here for you. They had an illegal protest, if you remember. They had tables up, and they had chains so that the tables would be locked in or something like that. And they were having an illegal pro-terrorist protest. And I love our state. And I love Richardson Police, Collin County Sheriff's deputies, and I think some state troopers went in there. And they did what Jesus did at the temple. They flipped over these frickin' tables. They threw this crap in the air. They threw it in the air, and they arrested these sons of bleeps. You want to be a terrorist-preaching, Jew-hating bastard? Not in this country. Not on this campus. You will not take it over. And they were cuffed and stuffed, 21 of them, I'll never forget. And they played victim. And an Islamist who was the head of... I can't remember the group. It'll come to me after I get off the air probably. It'll come to me in a second. But it was one of these Palestinian student organizations or whatever. It's an Islamist organization. They are retweeted and they are supported by the Houthis, for example. They're total terrorist supporters. She was running the chapter at UT Austin, but then when she graduated, she's going to, I think, SMU Law. She was up on the UT Dallas's campus, and she was running this crap as a non-student there. This is absolute organization and this woman and the people that were there at UTD are Islamic people. They're Islamist terrorist supporters, and they're terrorizing Jews on our campuses, in our communities, in our state. Hell no. Hell no. Excuse my language. First they come for the Jew, then they come for us. My friend writes a regular column. I've quoted him. I had him on my show a while ago. I'll have him on again in the future. But I don't know if I still have it. I'm going to pull it up. My friend writes a daily blog, column, etc. Eric Erickson. He made a good comment, and it was so perfect. And if I still have it here, if not, I'll be able to pull up in just a second. I have to read this to you. And I should have had it pulled up. Forgive me. But it's so perfect. Why do they always come for the Jew? And, they're not just going to come for the Jew. They're going to come for the Christian. They're going to come for you and me. Here we go. Let me scroll right to it. There's a couple of sentences, one or two, and they're so powerful. And it's better for me to just quote him than it is for me. Here's what he says. Scroll down. Here we go. Hold on. Here we go. As the wisest Jew who ever lived said, the things of the world hate him and those who are with him. Jesus Christ said that. The things of the world hate him and those who are with him. I'll quote my friend further. Christianity comes from a Jewish man named Jesus, who is also the God of all creation. The things of God are with Jews and Christians, and so, of course, Islamists and secularists are of the world, and so they hate the things of God. So secularists and Islam could come together to come to coherent rationality on standing up to Christians and Jews and being violent towards them and assuming once they're gone, then they can settle the fight between themselves. Jesus was a Jew, and Jesus is God. Jews are good. Jews are God's people. Now, Jews are sinners like any one of us, but they are God's chosen people. And that's what God's word said, and that's what the Bible says. And God says, if you bless Israel, I will bless you. And if you curse Israel, I will curse you. It is why evangelicals like myself, like my pastor, Dr. Robert Jeffers, are so valiantly, or I don't want to say boldly, back Israel to every single hilt we can, and every Jew, whether they're a secularist or not. Cowboys fans. Why do Cowboys fans sprint into AT&T Stadium? Do you know? This little article from WFAA TV Channel 8 today. Why do Cowboys fans sprint into AT&T Stadium before every game? Have you seen this? Have you wondered what are they doing? Why are they doing this? Well, I'll tell you this. This reminds me of something else real fast. When you're on the plane, my biggest pet peeve, one of my biggest pet peeves, I think it's the biggest, is when the plane finally stops at the gate, everybody stands up, and everybody's grabbing their bag. What are you doing? There's like 100 rows in front of you. Why are you standing up? Sit down. I don't want to see your butt in my face. I cannot stand that. I can't stand it. I want to yell, sit down and shut up. Wait till you're late, wait till the person in front of you gets up to go. And then you get up and you take your, it's a 10-second procedure here. Kind of reminded me of that. Well, WFAA TV Channel 8's Mike Leslie's says the AT&T Stadium Concourse Sunday around 5 when the doors open, people are busting in and running. Why? It's because, I didn't know about this, I think I remember something like this, the stadium opens up giant plaza areas in each end zone for standing room only ticket holders, and the tickets usually run $30 to $50. Fans will happily pay $50 to not have a seat. So they're sprinting to get their area. But by the way, hold on, if it's standing room only and you have to go to the bathroom, I guess if you're with 2 or 3 people, I don't know, but hard pass. I'd rather walk and just find some place. I know the Cowboys games probably have almost no empty seats ever anywhere, but you can always find a place. That's what I know. And if you have to stand in the end zone, I wouldn't do that. I would just get food, stand there, watch something, and until they make you shoo along, then go along, stop somewhere else. If you don't have a seat, and look for an empty seat somewhere. Arlington police investigate. Speaking of the Cowboys, could this be a Dallas Cowboy with fan rage? Or is it just a drunkard who hit and run? There's a man who was, after the Cowboys game got out Sunday evening at 11:15, right after the game, he was out in the parking lot wearing a Minnesota Vikings jersey. A group of friends and Vikings fans were in town. Fox 4 reports over the weekend to watch the game at AT&T Stadium. The jersey is now ruined, having been cut up by paramedics providing care. He was run over by this pickup truck that stopped for a few seconds and then left and drove over the curb and fled. They were just feet away from the rental car in Lot B in the stadium when they heard the revving of an engine in the same parking lot. The revving of an engine. Was this intentional because the guy was wearing a Vikings jersey? All I remember, he said, did the Vikings win Sunday night? I don't know. Is that why? This is not funny. The guy's okay. That's what's important. All I remember was something hitting my left side. Nothing. Next thing I knew, I was on the ground with 20 or 30 people around me. I kind of blacked out after I got hit, he says. He was diagnosed with a fracture on the spine. Thankfully, he's going to be okay, and hopefully have a full recovery. Fake Republican Dallas Mayor Eric Johnson. He will forever be known as a fake Republican to me. Why? Because right after he won the election for his last term of mayor, termed out, he purposely, I believe this was all intentional, and I believe it was all thinking this. Let's see. I can't win mayor in Dallas without being a Democrat. I will keep my Democrat status so I can win mayor. And then after that, like almost right after, I'm going to have what some philosophy book years ago called a metanoic experience. I'm going to have a metanoic experience. Oh my gosh, my reality has changed. I'm now a Republican. Woo! And I'm a black Republican, so whoa, you got to kiss my butt even more. Mayor Eric Johnson, here's why he really turned Republican, because he knows he cannot win any statewide election in Texas if he's a Democrat. He cannot win statewide in any election. He has higher aspirations. He wants to win a statewide office, so he flipped Republican so he can continue to go up the ladder in this state. That's what I believe strongly happened. And when Fox News, I was on the air at the Dallas radio station when this all went down, as I was for 15 years, And Fox News just kissed his, oh, you're a black mayor. Oh, you're a Republican. Oh, they humped his leg. Get out of here. He's a fraud. He's always a fraud in my book. Well, here comes Dallas Mayor Eric Johnson to try to give himself job security in a CNBC interview. Hey, look at me. I'm a Republican mayor in Dallas. No, you're not. You're a fraud. CNBC interview today, the Dallas Morning News says Johnson said the Republican Mayor Association, which he launched. Oh, look at me. I invented a Republican mayoral association. Whoa. I wonder why. Is it going to help you? Whoa. I wonder. Johnson says the Republican Mayor Association, which he launched soon after switching parties, would help grab votes from cities that are traditionally seen as Democrat strongholds. Oh, he's going to get votes for himself. Look, my notes say that. He's going to get votes. Where is it? He's going to get votes for him, for himself. Yes, I'm going to get votes for me. He says the votes in these cities can impact statewide races, particularly in swing states. So here's the cities he mentions. Miami. Democrats outspent us 19-1, he says, in that race. I know why Miami flipped from being a Democrat for decades. It's not because we need you, Mayor Johnson, to go do some magic which you can't do. It's because the city of Miami, I have Venezuelan relatives, they live there. They are the most anti-illegal immigration people you will find. But the city of Miami is made up primarily of Cubanos and Venezuelans. I know there's way more. I've never lived there. I'm not going to claim to be an expert. I'm not. But Cubanos, Venezuelans, Haitians, Jamaicans, all sorts of folks, Caribbean-type folk, and Hispanic folk. But they are pissed off. They love Trump's policies, but they're pissed off at the way ICE has been conducting themselves. They believe it's over the top and ham-fisted. That's what happened. That's my 40,000 foot away from not knowing all the granulars. And Mayor Johnson, you're not going to fix Miami. Get the hell out of here, dude. Okay? Los Angeles. Oh, you're Karen Bass. Oh, Rick Caruso, who was a Republican. Remember he was that guy who was a developer. He was calling out all the vile things with the fires in Los Angeles a year ago. He was live on Fox in the Fox affiliate in Los Angeles, calling it all out and saying how all of his properties were protected. He took the proper measures, and the city should have done the same thing. And he wants to help the city. That was all burning down. He came within 10 points of beating Karen Bass. Well, how are you going to help, Mayor Johnson? Well, as I was saying, we can get more votes for swing states because California is a swing state. Dude. And then they also cite Oklahoma City. Oklahoma's not a swing state, dude. Louisville, Kentucky, that's not a swing state. You could say that because Andy Beshear is their mayor, their governor, but that's just not the case. It's a red state with a blue governor, but it's a red state. Name the last time Kentucky went for a Democrat other than the governor. No, it's a red state. Raleigh, North Carolina, that might have something. New York, so it's just like, this is so stupid. This is Mayor Johnson trying to come up with something to get a job for himself and make more money and have his name all over the place. So hard pass on that. Trapped. Oh, you have to hear about this. I read this, and it made me mad, and it riveted me, and then I put it to the side. I wasn't going to print it out and talk about it, but I said, what are you doing? This is something you're passionate about. This is a story to tell, and it matters to you. Before I get into the details, a pastor and his son. The son is an adult. He teaches at, the pastor's at a church in Mesquite. I have very dear friends in Mesquite. My friend's a Dallas police officer there. We love them very much. And we rocked the baby. They have a brand new baby. We rocked 2 little boys and a baby. But the pastor's son is an adult who isn't involved per se, at that church. He coaches volleyball at a young lady, at a teenage high school volleyball, extracurricular volleyball team. He also teaches at a charter school in Mesquite. The son, he's an adult. He's like 32 years old or something. Yeah, and he's been arrested for grooming and sexually molesting, or whatever you want to call it, a 17-year-old girl, starting when she was 16 and lasting for about 2 years. And the authorities say that he literally used AI and asked AI to teach him how to groom her. It included threats. It started with adulation and, oh, you're awesome, and hey, you should be on my volleyball team. He saw her at some party and she was playing volleyball, and then the year later when she was old enough, he said, you should play on the team. He was, he pushed her around a little bit, and then he again, the AI taught him how to do this, for what it's worth. That's what it gave him a plan, and he followed it according to the authorities. And he started making her the example in a good way and saying, look at how awesome she is. Oh my gosh, she's so incredible. Look at that play she did. And then he made her a video reel of her stuff that he texted her and said, look at how awesome you are. He was buying her energy drinks or whatever and all sorts of things, paying her all compliments. He was her coach. And then one day, he started carrying, he told her he was carrying weapons. I guess AI, because AI, I'll read the pattern it said to do in this article, according to the authorities. And he carried a gun. He told, I carry a gun. I have a long gun. I have a knife. And then he would, when they would be at an event or at the church or something, he would hug her, and she would want it, and he would hug her, and he would have her, her hand, make sure she felt the gun on his hip, so that she would know he always is armed. Just some sick, vile things. And then eventually, the big day, she said, happened when they were at church, and he got her into pulled her into a changing room or a closet, and got her naked and was kissing her all over the place. And she said it was unbelievably forward and it wasn't what she wanted, and he did whatever he wanted and treated her like a rag, all that kind of stuff. And then finally, later on, she was asked to take her sister to a gymnasium. And there he showed up, or he saw her there or something, and he said he pretty much forced her to come back to his car with her and do sexual relations with him. And she said, what about my sister? He said, she'll have to figure it out someday or something. And then finally, he showed up at her school. He dragged her out of school, got her out of school somehow. And then in that parking lot, he was going to sexually assault her, she believes, until his wife called. And at that point, she said he stopped. And she said, basically, she seemed to say that if he wouldn't have gotten that call from the wife, he would have probably raped her or sexually assaulted her, whatever you want to call it. And she was under duress, she says. She was threatened. He was threatening with the weapons at all times. So he's been charged. The point of this is he's not the pastor, but he's the pastor's son. And the point of this is I don't care how great of a church you have, and I don't care how great of a pastor you have, or how great the son is, or this and that is. I'm telling you, never trust anyone, no matter what their title is, no matter what they do. Always talk to your kids. Always empower your kids. Mom thought something was suspicious. She got her daughter's phone and looked up the WhatsApp, and she saw the messages that at first started genteel. And by the way, what is a grown male coach texting with a daughter who's 32 years old, texting her daughter? You have a woman text. You have an adult text through that man. You don't have a man directly texting your daughter. I don't care. You have a layer of protection. It is your job, dads and mom. If you're the head of the household and dad's not there, it is your job. Protect your daughter. Anybody who's going out of the way to help their daughter, watch out. It could be grooming. Don't mess around. Sometimes the help is too much and too convenient because they want something off of your daughter. Protect your child at all costs. Better to err on caution than not. Don't freak your kids out. Don't overly be burdensome and such. But protect your child and talk to your child about this. I think I pretty much summed everything up in the case. Sexually explicit texts, WhatsApp. Oh, by the way, the mother, after she found that, she contacted the coach's wife. The wife found similar messages. She says, She goes and looks at his iPad, similar messages. She was 16 when it started. And he repeatedly told the victim, the report says, that the relationship was consensual and legal because she was 17. Lie. He told her that if they were caught in this, his parents would still love him, but he inferred the church would hang her because the relationship was her fault. Classic guilt, manipulation, threats. I mentioned the big one at the church where I mentioned what he did. Mentioned the gymnasium and stuff. Here's what he had not gotten If he had not gotten that phone call from his wife, the girl says she doesn't know what would have happened. An AI-generated 5-step plan of action. This is in the Dallas Morning News. The investigator later obtained an iPad through this man's wife. This guy who's been arrested, his wife. They found a note titled "Hypothetical Counter-Influence Plan." It appeared that this was an AI-generated document. From September 2nd, it had 5 phases of a plan, which included the following: stabilize and strengthen her, plant gentle doubts, rebuild her autonomy, so tear her down and build her back up, shift the power dynamic, that's the guns and threats, let her choose. Each phase went into how to achieve her particular step. Vile. Tarrant County Judge, oh, this is great. Tim O'Hare is being sued. This is so great. I love this. This is the second time somebody's suing him because they don't like the way he treats them at the Tarrant County Commissioner's Court at the meetings. This is so stupid. This guy is this is a black bishop, and he's angry, and he thinks it's racial. It's great. This is so great. It's just you have to hear. I'm just laughing. This guy's an idiot. He's, dare I say, he's an ass clown. This bishop claims he suffered injuries and damages from his mental and emotional injury and suffered mental anguish, humiliation, and embarrassment. He's suing for $250,000 of punitive damages. Why? Because the mayor, the Tarrant County Judge Tim O'Hare told him to sit down and shut up. Why? Because he was, I'll tell you here, he was told to sit down because he made a remark chastising the fact that clapping is banned from the commissioners' meetings. Judge O'Hare told him his time to speak in public comment would not be fulfilled and he needed to sit down. After they argued for about a minute, O'Hare told the sheriff's deputies to remove him. Good. Local government code ensures public may speak on behalf of specific agenda items, but it does not give, this is from the Star-Telegram, by the way, does not give anyone authority to hijack the meeting, shift discussion to non-agenda topics outside of public comment, or disregard it or try to speak over a presiding officer. I believe this is the attorney for the county says. Yeah, he's his chief of staff, says that. I don't know the law, but that sounds right to me, and I agree. The rules of decorum do not provide a limit on what instances he can throw somebody out, so there's nothing definitive, and he's thrown a number of people out. What I love here is this. Here's why it's so funny. This black bishop that was thrown out says it highlights the difference in treatment between him, Kirkland, the bishop, as a black man, and the succeeding speaker, who is a white man. What this fool and clown does not know is the white man he's referring to incorrectly identified in his lawsuit. The man who was talking about the white guy that wasn't thrown out, his name is Lon Burnham. He was incorrectly identified by this idiot's lawsuit as Bo Burnham. In the lawsuit, and he says, well, he wasn't thrown on, he said things. Actually, no action that day was taken against Burnham, but he has been banned also, like this bishop, from court meetings by Tim O'Hare before. So the white man has been banned that he cites as not being banned. So this is just so, what a comedy these fools are. What an asshat. The right to speak must be exercised with rules within the court and order, said Chief of Staff for Tim O'Hare. This is not the first time somebody has sued O'Hare. for this kind of stuff. In other cases under consideration. Take a number. We'll just close out with this. Execution set for killer who abducted retired TCU professor. Always have your head on the swivel. Don't have your head on your phone. So that if somebody's coming towards you in a parking lot of a Tom Thumb like what happened here, you can run, scream, call 911, or get in your car. Or go back into the store. A man is going to get a dirt nap. He was convicted of robbing and killing a retired TCU professor who he kidnapped in a Fort Worth grocery store parking lot in 2005. He was sentenced to death. This 53-year-old man, after a jury found him guilty of capital murder, killing 77-year-old Laura Lee Crane. Tarrant County Criminal Court District Judge Number 2 signed an order on Court Order Number 2 signed on December 10th for Texas Department of Criminal Justice to carry out his execution by lethal injection May 14th. Give him a dirt nap. Put him in the ground outside of a Tom Thumb store. It happened on January 30th, 2004. She suffocated after her head was wrapped with duct tape and she was forced into the trunk of her car. What a sick bleep and what a sick way to die. He stole more than $775 in credit cards and a blank check, says the DA's office. Don't carry checks on you ever. Perfect way for identity theft. Also, there was a story that was going around again about jugging. This time there's a group out of Houston. They come here. They come to, I'm sure, San Antonio and Austin. They come here and they follow people around and they jug. Jug is when they see you get money out of an ATM at your bank and they follow you. And then they see if you left it in your car, they'll steal it. If they didn't, or if you go back to your house, they might jack you right in your driveway. So what that means is you got to be aware of your surroundings. Once again, head on a swivel. As you're coming into that bank, look around. at the parking lot and on the periphery, maybe on the periphery area there. Peripheral, I can't even think of the word. And then the bushes, this and that. If you see anybody that looks a little suspicious, keep your eye on them. And as soon as you pull away, be looking if somebody's following you. If you think maybe, then just go a different direction or go in a weird direction. And if they keep following you, then drive to the police station. If you have a firearm, I carry, as you know, pretty much everywhere. And I choose mostly to have my gun right there in my lap, just because if something happens, I'm not going over the top, but I'm like, you know what? It's right there if something happens. So it's just my little thing. But watch what you're doing. You don't have to be armed if you don't want to be armed. And be aware of what's going on. And don't leave your freaking money in the car when you go to the grocery store after that. People are so stupid. I can't believe these cases. Every other week you're seeing stuff where somebody leaves $1,000 or $5,000 in their glove box. Who does that? And why would you leave it in your car? Would you leave your child in the car if he's like 2? Then why would you leave money in the car? Vice versa. All right, I'll throw one more in. Razor blades found shoved into loaves of bread at Walmart in Biloxi, Mississippi. Please don't be paranoid about your bread now. Remember when that was going down with Tylenol? People freaked out with that way back in the 80s or whatever. That happened when I was growing up in Chicago. That's a different story. At least it was there. And people went nuts all over the country with that. No, it's just not happening. All right? I will see you mañana on the Croc Talk podcast.